Yo, what is good, guys? It is Armbard. Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new, I'd really appreciate you guys if you guys would subscribe, leave a like down below. Also comment some video ideas you guys want to see on my channel. I got a lot of UFC related content, MMA related content in general, and UFC sports cards related content. So you guys let me know down below what you guys want to see. We're almost at 20 subs. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Once I get closer to 100 subs, we're going to be doing a little giveaway. So you guys make sure to stay tuned to that. The closer we get, the more I'll keep talking about it. So let's just get this video going. So if you can read by the title of this video, today we are going to be talking and discussing the valid talking points and honestly just the main parts of vintage UFC and modern UFC cards. And we're going to be talking about what is a smarter or better investment and how to decide what you want to collect, or if you want to collect both. We're going to get into why you should. So guys, like I said, if you guys do like this video, please leave a like. This video is currently being filmed at 4:55 a.m. I woke up before work, like 3 hours before work. Also, I've been thinking, I don't know if I want to do a YouTube live stream or do a whatnot live stream or both. I might honestly be doing both at the same time. I'm going to try and figure out if I can get that working on my PC. But I'm going to be doing cards and coffee maybe every Sunday morning. I feel like that'd be really fun. A lot of you guys maybe come out to my channel. Even if you guys don't want to talk cards, we talk UFC, talk MMA, drink some coffee, talk about cards, talk about the markets, talk about prices, comps, and all that. Just here to have a good time with you guys. Alright guys, the first topic we are going to be talking about is when a card is numbered. So lower numbered, higher numbered, whatever. We're going to be talking about if there is more in the print run and print line in older cards or more in the print line of the newer cards. So guys, for instance, if you guys know older UFC, this is Dan Hardy. You guys know Dan Hardy? Sorry, let me try and get the there we go. You guys know Dan Hardy. This is a Dan Hardy 2011 Topps Ruby number to 8. See if I can get the numbering on there. Yeah, kind of see it. Yeah, number to 8. So this is a Dan Hardy Ruby Red number to 8 on the color match. Matches the hair, matches the trunks. Super beautiful card if I had to say so myself. Let me try and get the, here we go. Super clean card if I had to say so myself. So guys, on these older numbered cards, there is definitely a lot less in the population than I'd say in the newer cards. For instance, if you look at this George St. Pierre, this is from the new Topps Knockout. Also, number to 8, if I could get that. Yeah, you guys can kind of see that in the corner. This is also number to 8. Super beautiful card, don't get me wrong. Also, another, it's like a base numbered card. So, for instance, guys, like if you look at the base cards for this, it's literally the exact same layout of 2011 Topps. Just this is red, this is red, this is red. That's literally the only thing that makes this parallel number to 8 is the ruby red foil on this. Same thing with this. Literally the Topps Knockout George St. Pierre looks exactly the exact same thing to this, other than, like I said, this little foil around the Knockout on the tops around here, and then it's number 8. So guys, when talking about these cards, they're both roughly about the same price range. If I had to say this, last comp, I'll pop it on the screen, sold for $50. And I don't think there's any price comps for this. Now guys, a comp is a comparison price. That's basically what a comp means. You're just comparing a comparison. Just shortened it to a comp. Comp is just you're comparing the price of cards. So for instance, there's a actual sale on, I think it's a 1 or 3 out of 8. I have the 4 out of 8. There's only one sale. It did $49.99 cross. So it either did that or didn't. Same thing with this. There is no sales on this card, so it's kind of hard to comp a price. And I'm going to be showing you guys a little breakdown. We're going to pop over onto my other monitor. I'm going to show you guys how to get a rough price range estimate when you can't find a price on a card. We're going to show you guys how to compare to another card and try and get an equal value or somewhat an idea of how to price this card. Alright, as you guys can see, we have eBay pulled up. I have written into the search bar 2011 Topps Ruby Dan Hardy UFC number to 8. Now we're going to be going through some of these prices. You can see like a base patch did $3. We're not looking for autographs. Here's an out of 88 black of Carlos Condit and Dan Hardy. That did $15. Atomic Refractors don't really be doing anything raw. Gold base. So guys, like I said right here, if we look at this. Alright, as you guys can see on the screen, this Dan Hardy, literally, like I said, all the way down to just the foil. That's the only difference is this. So these are almost, I'd say, base numbered cards. Like they are more base than an insert or a parallel or anything. Like it's just a straight base numbered card. Not just base. So for instance, here we go. Here's a Big Nog, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira 2011 Topps UFC Moment of Truth. So it has it's usually a white border with, now this is red because it's the number 8. That did $90. So like I said, on these older Topps cards, it's really hard. Like here's one number to 188, absolutely no difference other than the foil. It's hard to price some of these cards out. For instance, a Matt Hughes numbered to 8 and a PSA 8 did around $70. Here's a Dan Hendo short print Ruby from 2012 that did $91. So obviously, Dan Hardy's not on the level of Dan Henderson, I would say personally. I'd say for this instance, it's a pretty close comparison wise on how to find an idea of the comp. So I'd say this card is roughly worth around $40 if I had to say. Now, that's not what I paid, and it's also hard when you don't find actual comps of these cards. So like I said, Dan Henderson does $90. I'm going to cut that in half, say it's around $40. I didn't pay anywhere near $40. I paid way less than that, so I think I got it for a good deal. So yeah, that's these more modern side of the numbered out of 8s, which in my personal opinion, there's way more numbered out of 8s in the newer, more modernized stuff than the older stuff. So I can say if you definitely want to find or buy lower numbered cards, I'd say buy lower numbered vintage cards, just for the simple fact is there's way less made, way less parallels made, way less around inside of the actual market now, because you got to think these cards are made 15 years ago. We're in 2026. These are made in 2011, 2010, 2009. So these are like 15 plus years old. These are, I don't even think this is a year old yet. 2025, so this is not even a year old yet. So there's definitely going to be harder to find in the older cards. That's why I specifically like the older cards. Also, I just attach with the fighters more because that's when I first got into the sport. I started watching these fighters, for example, GSP, Dan Hardy, list goes on. So talking more modern cards, here we have this is a ultra super modern card. Sorry if the bag's kind of, here we go. Alexa Grasso, Black Refractor Showstoppers, numbered to 25. This is around a $35 card. Obviously, I didn't pay near that. But the thing I'd have to say on these newer numbered cards is obviously there's going to be a lot more parallels and a lot more versions of this card than there's going to be any vintage card. For example, this is a UFC Topps poster card of UFC number 1 from Topps 2009 Topps. Topps 2009 Topps. That didn't make sense, sorry. It's a little early. But beautiful, beautiful card. Absolutely beautiful card. This is around a $50 to $60 card. But there's way less of these made than there is these made. So when investing in a card, there's two ways to look at it. You're going to look at the flip side. So the more modern cards obviously have the better odds of going up rapidly sooner because these fighters are currently fighting. Now with the older fighters, for instance, Dan Hardy, you're waiting specifically on a big moment to be re-brought up so older fans can remember what they used to like watching, and newer fans can really get a love of these older fighters and show how the sport used to be. So you're basically just waiting on Hall of Fames, basically anything to happen after the market, after they're fighting wise. Now with the newer cards, you're still waiting for them to fight. So say Alexa Grasso comes out, wins her next match, she could get a title shot, she could get another fight and then a title shot. So these cards definitely have the higher possibility and opportunity of growing now rather than vintage cards have, in my opinion, a way, way higher ceiling of growing in the future because these cards are so old. They're the first of the UFC cards, so people are constantly going to be looking back to these sets, looking back to these inserts, looking back to the numbered cards, looking back to the autos, and trying to either recreate that or re-grab the old cards to get a nostalgic feeling. Or, like I said, there's just not very much of this in the market anymore. Now we're going to be going to talk about patches and patch autos and autos in general. So first, we're going to be talking about vintage. Here we have a Ben Henderson, very beautiful patch. Look at that patch with the patch auto. This is an authentic fight worn patch. Let me see if it says on here exactly where. It does not come for any specific event or anything, but this is 2013 finest. I have a Let me get it for you guys real quick. So guys, right here, I actually have a, kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can look. There we go. Glover Teixeira patch auto. This is from UFC on Fox 6. So that means this mat was fought on by every fighter that fought on UFC on Fox 6. So it gives you kind of a representation of knowing which mat or which patch this a specific fight or, you know, pair of shorts or whatever was used or worn in. Now, in my personal opinion, I feel like the older patch autos just look so much better, so much nicer. This is a jumbo patch auto, so obviously there's going to be a little bit difference, and that's from Finest. This is from the newest Knockout, from 2025 Knockout. This is Michael Venom Page. Very, very beautiful autograph, clean card. Kind of hard to see, but number to 199. Let's see if I can get it better. Number to 199, Michael Venom Page patch auto. Now, this patch is an authentic event used fight mat relic, apparently. But if you go in the back, absolutely does not say anything about where or what mat this was used in. So yeah, it's an official, maybe used mat relic, but not from a specific event. So in my personal opinion, I think older patches and older patch autos definitely have a higher ceiling for that simple fact is you can trace back who fought on that mat. I'll pop up the UFC on Fox 6 so we can see everybody that fought on this Glover Teixeira patch card. There's a lot of bangers, so I'm showing you guys that right now if you guys can see that. Beautiful, beautiful card. But same exact instance. These newer cards, say Michael Venom Page goes out and he wins his next fight against Sam Patterson, which he just got booked recently, you're going to have a higher odd and probability of this card going up than this card. For the simple fact is this guy is still active and this guy is not fighting at all. But in my personal opinion, in the long run, these cards are going to be way, way harder to get, way better to get than these cards. For instance, like I said, there's 199 just of these, of this one. Then there's probably not a 50, not a 75, not a 125, you know, whatever. These, they're not numbered, but I can only assume there's not much available. I think I've seen one or two of these come up for sale and actually sale on eBay, rather than you can probably find 20, 30 of these in one person's collection, you know, whatever. All right, guys, next we are going to be talking about slabs. Now, this has no specific order as in why my vintage card is graded in SGC and why the newer one is in PSA. That's just how I got the cards. But I would honestly say, like I said, this is all just opinion, but I think the older cards are still the way to go. Slabbed up, raw, whatever the case may be. I think the older vintage UFC cards is definitely the way to go and invest your money. Here's a Quinton Rampage Jackson UFC debut from 2009 Topps round 1. This is, okay, if we're being official, there's 2009 E-Topps, and then there's 2009 Topps round 1. So these two, basically round 1 is the first product besides E-Topps to come out and drop cards for these guys. Quinton Rampage Jackson, I mean, everyone knows Rampage. You watch UFC, you don't watch UFC, you know Rampage. He's even streaming now, so he's kind of getting his hand everywhere. So like that, for instance, this card could get brought up because he does all kinds of things. He's still constantly in the news. He's constantly in the media. He has a son that's constantly in the media. Maybe that may not be for good or bad, but his name's still relevant. So I think older UFC may be better in that perspective. But here we have a newer, let's say newer legend, Gilbert Burns. This is first year Prism, so this is debut UFC Prism. This is 2021 in a blue refractor. So this is number 199 rookie in a PSA 10. There we go. This is a Pop 1. So there's Pop 1 basically means the population report on PSA. That means there's only one of these cards graded a PSA 10 in this condition. So it's definitely, as you can see, there's this being numbered, there's more in the market and constantly being around. But it being a PSA 10, you kind of get a little premium for that. Same thing with this. An SGC 85 on a vintage UFC 2009 like Topps round 1 card is actually a pretty good grade. You know, saying all things put together. But maybe I'm just a little biased, but I think vintage UFC is still the way to go, even when you're getting slabs. I'd say if you could, try and grade them in PSA. I think PSA is going to be the move, especially for these vintage cards. But SGC is just a good way to grab it, get it slabbed up, and get a grade on it so you can kind of get an idea of, you know, what it's looking like. All right, you guys, and last but not least, we're just going to talk about two other cards that I really like having. I want to talk to you guys about them real quick. So going with my modernized part of it, we got an Alex Pereira Bulletin Hyper Prism rookie. They're not. These aren't numbered. These aren't short printed. Anything. But I mean, getting an Alex Pereira rookie card, especially now, is a very volatile thing because he's at such a pinnacle point in his career. Like he's constantly just taking. I think taking a money fight may be his best chance. But he has a possible chance of becoming a triple champ, the first UFC ever triple champ. So that, for the modern side, is very, very, very high upside because this guy, the amount and peak that he could peak at is absolutely insane. Being a triple champ in the UFC, middleweight, light heavyweight, absolutely insane to do. So I think any Alex Pereira, which is the modern card, may have the higher opportunity and higher probability of blowing up. And I think this guy is going to be a UFC legend no matter what. Now we're talking about vintage cards. Here we have a 2010 Topps UFC Joe Rogan in an 8.5. This is a second year Joe Rogan. First year Joe Rogan's 2009 Topps. So if we're going to look at the price range in 2009 round 1 Topps versus 2010 Topps, I think 2010 Topps is a very, very good alternative when looking at 2009 round 1 prices because round 1 is the first main product of UFC. So the prices are a bit higher because those are the first debut cards, first rookie cards, first everything for a lot of these guys that you want to get, the Buffers, the Danas, the Joe Rogans, GSP, Rampage. You know, a lot of these guys, their rookies are in that 2009 UFC round 1. So round 1's definitely, I'd say, a little bit harder, but 2010 is a good option to get. Like I said, you can't go wrong getting any Joe Rogan card, especially in A5. Now, that's why I think the vintage cards on that side of the spectrum may be a lot better, like the Danas, the Buffers, the Joe Rogans. They have older cards in these older products. Yeah, you're getting the newer autos, you're getting the John Anik, you're getting the Lorosenkos, you know, whatever. But I think the older cards are just the way to go when investing your money. Now, guys, like I said, this is all just opinionated. I'm showing you guys just my personal thoughts and opinions on why I think these cards should be bought, why I think these cards are going to have a higher chance in the market to blow up versus the modern cards. Don't get me wrong, modern cards are very, very fire and liquid right now, currently, because these fighters are hot right now. They're also having chances to fight, so they're going up, they're going down. It's more fluctuating because these guys are currently fighting now. But I think the vintage cards don't fluctuate as much because these guys are already solidified and consolidated in their careers. They're not going out, they're not fighting, they're not losing, they're not making their career look any worse. If anything, they're just bettering their career, you know, going to the Hall of Fame, constantly staying relevant. So I think vintage UFC does have the higher peak and higher chance to make your money in the long run rather than some of these modern cards. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of fire modern cards right now, like case hits, the Kabooms, Berserkers. I think a lot of these case hits could do good in the long run. But for just regular parallels, regular base cards, I think modern cards are absolutely washed. Vintage cards are the way to go. So that's just my opinion. So I hope you guys did like this video. If you did, leave a like down below. Tell me down in the comments if you guys prefer modern UFC cards or vintage UFC cards. I'm going to say vintage in, you know, some quotes because vintage is kind of what you think. Like 2009 is not vintage at all in my opinion. I was 8 years old, so like I'm not vintage by any means. But vintage in card terms as that being the first set, you know, I think that is the best way to invest your money. So guys, like I said, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I'd really appreciate it. The closer we get to 100 subs, I'll keep talking to you guys, keep mentioning the giveaway. I'll try and see what I can do for a giveaway after this video. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in my next video. I'm out.